Hi there. My name is Stacey Goldring, and I am the facilitator of Chapter and Notes Book Club. And if I have any luck, I'm going to get through this video and present to you our slate for our upcoming titles for our 23-24 season. I'm going to go through each of the titles. I'll talk a little bit about them. And then at the end, if you can stay with me to the end, I'm going to announce our summer title. So we have a summer title that we give guests every summer, of course. This summer, I'm a little late in getting there, so please forgive me, but there's a reason why, which I also will reveal at the end of the video with the summer title. So stay with me. I'm going to go through each book, giving you the title of the book, the name of the author, and the number of pages. And I promise, as much as I'd like to reassign Atlas Shrugged or books of that length, I'm not doing it. So don't worry about that. So grab a pencil, your tablet, whatever it is, and get ready to write down your 5 titles that you would like to read in 23-24 with chapter and notes. All right, so let's get going. And if you hear a bit of snoring, that is Coco, and she is supine right there on my desk. I had to move my keyboard because God forbid it should get in her way. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Our first title is Before the Coffee Gets Cold. Forgive me for mispronouncing any author's names or anything else that I mispronounce. It's just because I'm excited or I don't know how to pronounce it. Okay, this is Toshikazu Kawaguchi. Before the Coffee Gets Cold, 277 pages. And this is one of 3 in a series. What if you could go back in the past? That's what this book is about. It's set in a little cafe. You go down, you go into the cafe, you sit down, you have a cup of coffee, and during that cup, you go anywhere you want, back in time. So we meet 4 different characters who have 4 different experiences about what they would do, what fences would they mend, what regrets would they take care of. We all live with the woulda, shoulda, couldas, and this book addresses that through the magical thinking of going back in time. It's a sweet little book. And if you like that one, it's the first of 3. The second is called Before Your Memory Fades, and Tales from the Cafe is the third. So our first selection is Before the Coffee Gets Cold, 277 pages. Okay. The next book is a play. I love doing plays. This book is a classic. I thought it was time to bring this book to our group. It is called The Crucible by Arthur Miller. I probably don't have to explain a thing about this book, but just in case I will, 160 pages-ish. Now, each number that I give of pages, it depends on the publisher, it depends on the book. So this is thereabouts. We visit the Salem witch trials. This is a 1953 play by the famous American playwright Arthur Miller. It is a dramatization, partially fictionalized story of the Salem trials that took place in the Massachusetts Bay Colony during 1692 to 93. Miller wrote the play as an allegory for McCarthyism in the United States government, where here in the US, we persecuted people that we thought were communists. Miller was questioned himself by the House of Representatives Committee on Un-American Activities in 1956, and he was convicted of contempt of Congress for refusing to identify others present at the meetings that he had indeed attended. So this book is based on his experience. It has a lot of relevance to today, and I would love to go there with you and explore the work of Arthur Miller. We did do Enemy of the People a few years ago, and Arthur Miller did an adaptation of that. So, but this time we're going to focus on something that took place back in the 1600s, and we're going to take a look at Arthur Miller. All right, so The Crucible, 160 pages. Next. I am not a fan of reading books by authors who are living. That's a long story. But every so often, because of book club, I will go there. So we're going there with The Last Castle. The Last Castle by, oh my goodness, I didn't write her name down. I'm really sorry. Maybe it'll be down below. And I'm so sorry to the author. But anyway, so here we go. Last Castle, 432 pages. This was a New York Times bestseller with, quote, engaging narrative and array of detail. All right. So the Wall Street Journal said that. This is the untold yet true story behind the Biltmore estate. I don't know if you've been there, but I've been there, and I've been there at Christmas, and it is amazing. Okay. So this is the untold true story of the Biltmore, the largest, grandest private residence in North America. And it has seen more than 120 years of history. It spans the jazz era, the Depression, and famous people walk through, including F. Scott Fitzgerald, Thomas Wolfe, Teddy Roosevelt, I never know, John Singer Sargent, James Whistler, Henry James, Edith Wharton, Frederick Law Olmsted designed the grounds. And of course, it was built by George Vanderbilt. So we are led through the book with Edith Stuyvesant Dresser, who was orphaned at a young age and claimed lineage from one of New York's best-known families. We follow her engagement and marriage to George Vanderbilt. One of the most watched events was their marriage of the Gilded Society age. But none of this prepared our dear Edith to be mistress at the Biltmore. Before their marriage, the wealthy and bookish Vanderbilt had dedicated his life to creating a spectacular European-style estate on 125,000 acres of North Carolina wilderness. This is the story of the largest house in America, how it flourished, how it faltered, and ultimately endures, and indeed it does to this day. And let me know in the comments below if you've been there. It is so beautiful. Okay, moving on, going to a classic, one of my many favorites, Flaubert's Madame Bovary. I'll put it right here so I can be consistent with Lisa. Okay, you can see this is a very beloved copy. Yes, Coco agrees. Okay, this was Gustave Flaubert's first published novel, and probably I would say his famous. This one comes in, but it has very tiny type at 464 pages. This was Flaubert's first novel. I already said that. Okay, so who is Madame Bovary? Well, her first name is Emma, and she has become one of the most famous and discussed characters in world literature. Emma lives in pursuit of something more, just like she reads in romance novels. Today, she probably would have read all the Danielle Steele novels had she grown up in the 80s, but now she'd probably be on Instagram 24/7. Oblivious to the realities of life, she's full of these romantic delusions, and she is in search. She is like, I am woman. Bring it on. Search for transcendence. She's looking for through sex, money, and social position. It is a recipe for truly a real romp. And we learn a term in this book that Gustave Flaubert uses that I just love. It's a literary term. Again, I'll probably botch it, but it's called vision binocular. Vision binocular. I don't know. Either way, it's a way of looking at two things at once. The author allows us to look at two things at once. It happened here first in our Bovary. Okay, this is a book that is still relevant today. And P.S., the author who wrote it was really non-judgmental of Emma. He didn't judge her either way, her choices, but it did get him in big trouble with the French law. The book was considered obscene, disturbing, lustful, about a woman lacking restraint and who threw off all her garments. Oh my God, God forbid. Okay, guess what? We need a little extraordinaire. We need a little daring. So that's why I am recommending Madame Bovary. 464 pages, I think I said. Okay. Now, If that's a little too ooh la la pour vous, we can swim across the channel and read another favorite of mine. And I'm so glad this was recommended because all I can say is it's about time. That is Mrs. Dalloway. Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf. Now, we've met Virginia Woolf kind of in a roundabout way when we read All Passion Spent by Vita Sackville West, because we learned that Vita and Virginia were lovers. But now we'll have a chance to dive into the life of Virginia Woolf and how she came to make Mrs. Dalloway, and why this book is so important to us today. Okay, so what's the book about? It's a book about Clarissa Dalloway, and she is going to have a party. That's it. We meet Clarissa, and she's going to go do a little shopping because she plans to have a party later that day in the evening. So we go with her to the florist, sit in the park, and that's really all there is to it. But wait, that isn't all there is to it. There is so much more to this book, okay? This book is the first book to do something that is done all the time now in literature called stream of consciousness writing. So Virginia brings us inside the brain of Clarissa, and we're right there with her as she is thinking about her life. So it takes place in 1923. Oh my gosh, it's a 100-year anniversary. I planned that. Not really, but anyway. Okay, so Clarissa is sitting on the park bench, or she's picking out what flowers she wants, and she like you and me, she starts to daydream what life was like before the war, because this is right after World War One. The choices she made. So, she doesn't have a chance to go get a cup of coffee like in the other book and go back in time. So she's thinking about the choices that she made. And from there, we get to meet other people because, people are in the park. So, a soldier may walk by, and then we're going to learn about him. Or someone else may come into the picture, and now we're going to learn about him. It's not crazy like Gabriel Garcia Marquez or Marquez Garcia. I always screw that up. It's not that kind of magical realism, but it's this idea of jumping into the heads of other people. It's probably one of the most beautiful novels I've ever read. Not that I'm partial, but I would love to discuss it with you. Wink, wink, nod, nod. Okay. That's Dalloway by Virginia Woolf. How many pages? Depending, I would say anywhere from 170 to like 230. Again, it depends on your book. All right. Let's say you don't want to go to France. You don't want to go to London, but maybe you want to go down to the Bayou. Maybe you want some wonderful Creole food. Well, I'm going to bring back a classic, and I say bring back because I left it. I didn't bring it with me, but I do have a copy. This book is called The Awakening. Oh dear. What did I do? Here it is. The Awakening. Sorry about that. The Awakening, originally titled A Solitary Soul. This is a very short story. Some people call it a novel, by Kate. Again, I'm going to botch the first name. I'm going to call her Chopin, Chopin, but it could be a bazillion things because who knows? But anyway, I'm sure someone will let me know. And thank you. Okay. So anyway, this was published in 1899 and is set in New Orleans and on the Louisiana Gulf Coast. We're at the end of the 19th century. The plot centers on Edna Pontellier and her struggle to reconcile her increasingly unorthodox views of femininity and motherhood. But she's thinking all these things while living under the attitudes and expectations of living in the American South at the turn of the century. Like, I feel the corset tightening in the heat. This is kind of a precursor to Mrs. Dalloway in a way. The Awakening, which I've read several times and just goes to show you it is so worth a reread. is one of the earliest American novels that focuses on women's issues without condescension. Another one I may add is The Yellow Wallpaper. The Yellow Wallpaper. Anyway, this book is in the Southern tradition of Faulkner, Flannery O'Connor, Eudora Welty, Catherine Ann Porter, and Tennessee Williams. There is something about Southern literature that is truly, truly magical. Okay, next up, going in a completely different direction out of this world, I present to you A Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. I'm not one to read a lot of sci-fi. Well, hardly any ever. Fahrenheit 451, would that count? But here we are. So A Brave New World, 340 pages. This is an important classic. The Wall Street Journal, I don't know why I'm quoting the Wall Street Journal. It's weird. Okay. Calls it, quote, a masterpiece, one of the prophetic dystopian works of the 20th century. Recommended, unquote, recommended to anyone concerned with preserving individuality in the face of our world. And I would add a world filled with algorithms, AI, groupthink, hysteria, etc., etc. Okay, A Brave New World is a dystopian novel, and here's kind of, I'll tee it up for you. While on vacation in a savage nation, Bernard Marx brings back to his insulated world state a young man named John, a guy who has memorized all of Shakespeare. He struggles to adapt to this hedonistic, drug-fueled lifestyle in Marx's world. So what is Marx's world? It is a technologically advanced future where humans are genetically bred, socially indoctrinated, and pharmaceutically anesthetized. I love that. Pharmaceutically anesthetized to passively uphold ruling order. No, I'm not talking about the news. I'm talking about a classic novel, Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, 340 pages. Sometimes you just got to swallow the medicine. And I think we need to read this. But maybe you don't want to. Maybe you think, I already know about the news. I ain't going there. Well, then come with me and let's learn about Alice Waters and Chez Panisse, which I hope I'm pronouncing right. Again, obviously I don't get out much. This book is entitled Alice Waters and Chez Panisse, the romantic, impractical, often eccentric, ultimately brilliant making of a food revolution by Thomas McNamee. When francophile Alice Waters opened Chez Panisse in Berkeley in 1971, few Americans were familiar with things like goat cheese, cappuccino, or mesclun, which I think it's like a lettuce. I hope it's not a hallucinating drug, but either way. Moving on. Okay. Waters inspired a new culinary standard, incorporating ethics, politics, and the conviction that the best grown food is often the tastiest. Based on unprecedented access, I don't know if you can hear her snoring. That's insane. Okay. Based on unprecedented access to Waters and her inner circle, this is truly a delicious rags to riches saga. So look, if Brave New World depresses you, then look, we can read about this amazing thing, and wouldn't it be nice to win the lottery and take a field trip and go to this restaurant? Okay, so that's Alice Waters and Chez Panisse. Moving on, I'm really excited to present to you Mythos, a retelling of the myths of ancient Greece by Stephen Fry, 432 pages. This is Fry's take on the Greek myths. The book is described as spellbinding, informative, and moving. And again, it's one of three. It's one of a trilogy. So introducing yourself to new books that we have not yet read, and then you have access to read further. Fry transforms the adventures of Zeus and the Olympians into emotionally resonant and deeply funny stories without losing any of their original wonder. This book also features, if you don't listen to it, or I don't know if the tablet versions will have this, classical artwork inspired by the myths, as well as notes, etc. So, each adventure is infused with Fry's distinctive wit, voice, and writing style. Connoisseurs of Greek myths, have no fear. You will appreciate the fresh yet reverential interpretation, while newcomers will feel welcome. Retellings brim with humor and emotion and offer rich cultural context. Now, the last time I studied the Greek myths was when my son was in 5th grade, and he had to learn about them. And truly, I got more out of that 5th grade unit. Thank you, Mrs. Plaucha, wherever you are on planet Earth, than I did in all my years, going off through high school, whatever. So, okay, wonderful, wonderful Mythos by Stephen Fry. And surely you know who he is. And if you don't, come on. Well, I'll tell you who he is. He's an award-winning comedian, actor, presenter, and director. Rose to fame along with Hugh Laurie in A Bit of Fry and Laurie, and Jeeves and Wooster, and was the unforgettable. Well, he was to me because I really didn't like that series, but that's okay. I'll give it another try. Captain Melchett in Blackadder. And he hosted over 180 episodes of QI, which I really hope I'm pronouncing correctly. And he has a wonderful connection to our summer selection. So stay tuned. Next, how many more, Stacey? Oh my God, how long can these possibly go on? This is the last one, and I hope I haven't missed any. Okay. Our last one is Chasing the Panther, Misadventures of a Cinematic Life. And this just came out this year. Good on me, choosing authors who were very aerobic. Okay, this is by Caroline Pfeiffer with Gregory Collins, and it comes in at 432 pages. For a moment in the 1980s, Caroline Pfeiffer was the only woman in Hollywood who could greenlight a movie. This is a memoir. Working with directors like Sam Shepard and Wes Craven, and with other actors like River Phoenix and Bette Davis, she had a hand in producing or distributing many landmark films, among them Ridley Scott's The Duelist, Alan Rudolph's Choose Me, and the Academy Award-winning Kiss the Spider-Woman. Yeah, full disclosure, I've never heard of that, but that's okay, it doesn't matter. All right, so I was going to read like a little bit from the front, a few pages, and I landed on the author's note, and I'm just going to read this to you. I don't think there's going to be a copyright infringement. Oh my gosh, I hope there's not, so I'll read it super fast. But it's so beautiful, and I think that will intrigue you. She says, I never imagined I would write about my life, mostly because my training was to protect the privacy of people for whom and with, people for and with whom I worked. And now I'm going to paraphrase just in case there's a copyright issue, because I have a PhD in being paranoid and worrying. That said, I'm going to do it in third person. Caroline saw real historical and things of great significance happen behind the camera. The people that she worked with and everything she writes of them are also already in the public record, but she was there. And she wants to contribute to the memories of that record. And, that's the work I do on the side, which is a reason why we have an amended schedule, which I'll talk about. But it's the idea of testimony and writing down and contributing to history. God, I love you, Caroline. And she wrote this from Texas. So there you go. All right. So that is our lineup. We have, hopefully, I presented 10 wonderful titles from which you can choose up to 5. The deadline for your submissions will be included either down below or in whatever way you receive this communique. And now I want to segue and tell you what our summer selection is. And actually, there has been a clue sitting here the whole time. If you will just take a look behind me and follow me as I point to this beautiful little magical orb. And if that doesn't make you think, oh no, I know what's coming, stay tuned. Hold on, it's coming. I promise. Hello. Hello there. I'm speaking to you now from Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Witchery. Yes, it's me. Of witchcraft and witchery. Yeah, wizardry. I don't know. I can't think. Okay, but anyway, you know what's coming. We will be reading Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. As you can tell, I love this book. I love this book more than, oh my God, I love this book. There goes page 122. No matter, I will take it together or do whatever you do. Okay, this will be our summer selection. Sorry, you don't get a vote. You must read it because if you don't, 5 points against your house for not. And also, when we do get together to discuss it, I have another copy from Nina Lima, and it is a pop-up, and it is so beautiful. This, look at this pop-up. These books are absolutely gorgeous. Do this so you can see. Look at this. This is these will all be on display. I have so much stuff that you're really going to think, oh my God, she's lost her menopausal mind, but I don't think I'm menopausal anymore, so that's not a problem. Okay. So for those of you who haven't gotten your letter yet to come to Hogwarts, I'm going to tell you what it's all about. See, I'm treating it like a very, I'm not being emotional at all, am I? Okay. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, or Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. So it was philosophers in the UK, and here, sorcerers. It comes in at 349 pages, and it is written by J.K. Rowling. I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. She's amazing. This is the first novel in the Harry Potter series, and this was her debut novel. The Sorcerer's Stone follows a young wizard, Harry Potter, orphaned and living with a horrible family, the Dursleys. He discovers his magical heritage on his 11th birthday. Yes, I'm wearing this hat the entire time. When he receives a letter of acceptance from Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. At Hogwarts, he makes friends with Ron Weasley and Hermione Granger. And let me tell you, when I read this book back in the late 90s, I could not pronounce this girl's name for the life of me. And I think there is a Hermione in Atonement by Ian McEwan. And I'm not even going to tell you how I pronounce that in my head. No one can know, not even Virginia Woolf. But boy, did I botch it. Anyway, Harry must face evil in the form of a dark wizard, Lord Voldemort, who killed Harry's parents, but failed to kill Harry when he was a child. Packed with all the elements of classic storytelling and myth. And trust me, these books are much cheaper than therapy. They give me so much joy. As you can tell, Harry Potter is my true fandom world, and I am no longer ashamed to admit it. So we will learn about Harry Potter. We will learn what went on behind Harry Potter to make this book, what elements that, I mean, it's almost like Joseph Campbell in its drawing on myth, which is why mythos would be so great to read afterwards, just thinking out loud here, because that's Stephen Fry, like pulling it all together. And we can say, oh my gosh, the Greek gods. I mean, the Greeks, they wrote just like they did their own Harry Potter, because in a way they did. Okay. And guess who narrates, if you decide to read Harry Potter, and I hope you will accept that mission, you can listen to it on Audible, because guess what? Stephen Fry narrates all 7 books. What could be better? Okay, this is falling off, and it's like 180 degrees in here, so I'm taking it off. All right, so I think I've covered all the bases, And now I'll explain that we have an amended schedule this year. We are not meeting in September because unfortunately there is a scheduling conflict, and that is the same for November. There is a scheduling conflict. These are all good things. There's nothing to worry about. There's no, cause for concern. This is the first time it's happened in the well over a decade. I think we're going like on 17 years of reading together. Can you even believe it? But because of this, we will have an amended season, but fear not, we will get together in October, which is very appropriate for Harry Potter. So that's October of 23. If you get this in some type of real time, if you look at this video in 20 years, well, you can use Hermione's time turner necklace, and you can go back and join us in person. For a discussion, or you can look at the online discussion that will be posted here or somewhere, wherever it is in the universe that we live there. Let's just hope it's not a Brave New World verse. Okay, so there's up to five you can choose. The deadline information will be all available to you. And I hope that you enjoyed this presentation. I wish we were getting together earlier, but sometimes you just have good problems. So I'm going with the flow here. I miss you all. I want to know what you're reading. I want to know if you've read any of the books that we've read and what you think of them. And more than anything, I want you to come to our discussions. And I want you to tell everyone you know about chapter endnotes, because your membership, your participation, whether you are an annual subscriber or you subscribe monthly, or you're just part of the replay and you see these online after they've been posted and they're live, everything benefits my nonprofit, Searching for Identity, which is a nonprofit that I run that captures the stories of children and grandchildren of Holocaust survivors. So I'm gathering stories and I'm capturing stories, and you're helping me do that because we're discussing stories. So it's all about the written word. I hope you've enjoyed this ballot presentation. Let me know if you like presenting the ballots this way. And if not, silence is golden. I will get the message. Don't worry about it. So thank you very much. Happy reading. And please let your friends, let everyone know about Chapter and Notes Book Club. It is the best place to come together and discuss books. Thank you. Bye-bye. Well, I'm back again very briefly because I forgot one of the titles, and that's really not fair because a lot of work was put into figuring out which titles to bring to you and sorting through all the recommendations that everyone always has. So keep a clear mind, because here we go. One last time, here is our final, I promise, candidate for your consideration. Rules for Visiting by Jessica Francis Kane. And I pulled this description right from the Penguin Random House website. So here we go. At 40, May Attaway is more at home with plants than people. Over the years, she's turned inward, finding pleasure in language. Her work as a gardener. Sounds familiar? And keeping her neighbors at arm's length while keenly observing them. But when she is unexpectedly granted some leave from her job, May is inspired to reconnect with 4 once close friends. She knows they'll never have a proper reunion, so she goes one by one to each of them. A student of the classics, May considers her journey a female odyssey. What might the world have been if, instead of waiting, Penelope had set out on an adventure all of her own? I'm pretending I know the story of Penelope. I have no idea. So I'm really, because I always confuse Penelope and Persephone. So that's an issue. But anyway, so again, we're coming back to this theme of playing on the classics, which I absolutely love, love, love. All right. So Rules for Visiting is an exploration of friendship in the digital age, deeply alert to the nobility and ridiculousness of ordinary people like you and me. I put in the last part. So that is Rules for Visiting Jessica Francis Kane, a mere 304 pages. So now I promise that that is the last title for our 23-24 ballot selection. Let me know what you think and follow the rules to go ahead and submit your ballot and join Chapter on Endnotes for another wonderful season of reading together. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.